We met in 2006.
Six. I was about to say. Yeah.
And so how did that come to be with all the people? How did you kind of connect?
So I will say that we connected because of spoke Spanish. We're, Puerto Rican, we're Latin.
It's kind of as the community comes to be. One of the other Hispanic or Latino players that was playing on my team knew him, James. And so it was a natural introduction. Hey, here's another guy. He's from Puerto Rico, and you meet. Hi, how you doing? And sort of one thing blossomed to the other.
And even though you were in South Florida, in this particular universe, there were not a lot of other, Hispanic men at that time.
In the LGBTQ community, or
involved in this with the league.
With the league. Oh, relatively speaking, yes. At the time, it was the numbers were much smaller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that we all pretty much joined around the same time, like same period. And like I was saying before, when I moved up here and started playing in the league, I didn't realize that there were so many Latin people that lived in Broward County. So then you started, more people came and registered and tried out and joined the league. So that's how we became, how we started to get to know each other.
And I don't know, to somewhat give credit to some of that outreach to the Latino community, you have to go back to Abe.
Yeah.
Because Abe Hasbun, who helped me, come into the league, he at the time was a league. You would see him and you see his name, and the last thing you would think is Latino. He actually grew up in, was it Nicaragua or Honduras? Yeah. Okay, speaks Spanish perfectly well, but grew up here in Miami. And so he had connections to the community that also helped attract people and bring them up.
How does that enhance your relationship and with the others by having that connection?
So I want to say that it made me feel comfortable to be around like people that I grew up around, that I grew up with when I was in Puerto Rico. So it was just, again, like, having Spanish family that lives in Hialeah and then in Tampa and in New York, just come to Broward County, I didn't realize that there was such a big population of Spanish and Puerto Ricans. So it made me feel like I was back at home, basically.
There's a natural cultural fit. There's commonalities in terms of memories or references that, whether they're sidebar comments or, hey, do you remember when, that help bond or create that kinship.
Did either of you have any issues with non-Hispanic men who perhaps weren't as comfortable with you or with other Latin men on the team? Was there anything ever like that? Do you remember?
No, I don't think there was ever an issue of like anybody being uncomfortable that we spoke Spanish. But you'll get like like Tim would make fun because we will say stuff in Spanish and sometimes poking fun at him. And he's like, oh, there comes out the Puerto Rican, so I'm not gonna understand anything that's being said, basically. But I don't think there was ever an issue.
I don't think so. Yeah. It was for many, it was almost a novelty. It was the fact that, oh, you all, speak Spanish.
Well, do you think that was because this was a group of LGBT people that they were less inclined to be judgmental or bigoted towards other people? I mean, I just wonder if this had not been a gay league, perhaps you were walking into a league of, non-Hispanic, straight men, would they have been as embracing to you perhaps 20 years ago or longer?
I would say, obviously, the LGBTQ community has always been much more open and accepting, just because of our sheer nature, and so that makes it a lot easier. Would I say that going into a straight league and having them look upon me as a Latino or someone that is non-white? No, not necessarily. I never felt that type of discrimination or fear, but yeah.
I mean, just even having this conversation to me is weird. I've lived in South Florida since 1974, and certainly this is not the same South Florida that it was then. And I do recall this, not for the, but just for conversation. I mean, I remember when people would get upset. They only spoke Spanish, and they didn't speak to us in English, and this kind of stuff. And this was with the pains that this community went through then. But it's the idea of it making any difference today in this town.
Well, I think probably not in this town, but in other places. Like my aunt lives in Fort Myers, and
Right.
it's just like the stories that she tells me. And sometimes I tell her, I'm like, you know what? I wish they would fucking do that to me, because I would just let them have it. Oh, we're not being. This is off the record, right? Okay.
No, we like this.
Like I wish they would do that to me, because I would let them have it, basically, because I just think that it's just like we like somehow have to evolve and move away from that. And I think that's such an archaic way of thinking that is just it's just ridiculous. I played in, going back to what Ralph was saying, I played in not straight leagues, but co-ed rec leagues as part of work here, or as part of, Thursday night league, or, during the week at Mills Pond. And I never felt, that because I'm Hispanic, a certain way. And for the most part, I didn't feel a certain way either being, gay, playing in the league. Because we had a lot of, players that played in, the co-ed, correct league. And let's face it, they needed players, because sometimes people wouldn't show up because it was during the week at nighttime. So we were there to help, fill the teams.
People don't remember. They just don't. I mean, some people might, but 3 years after Anita Bryant, which we all know what happened in Dade County then. 3 years later, in Dade County, they put on the ballot to speak English only. And an older person might remember that, but we never hear them talk about those days. But this was like right around the time of Mariel, and and suddenly this became right front and center, this whole controversy within our community about where we were headed and what was becoming of the community and the growing pains that we suffered. And but that's like sort of just forgotten today.
Well, it's taken a step back. It's fortunate in that sense. I don't know, as you said, depending on your age group and whatever, your memory is still there. It's something that you may recall more vividly, less vividly, in terms of what may have happened. But yeah, I remember in more than just a casual joking fashion, others saying, "The last American, now please bring the flag." Comments fairly derogatory towards Latin and Hispanic people.
Right. It was as painful for Hispanic people then as it was for gay people during the Anita Bryant campaign. But what are we seeing today in terms of our community, and in terms of immigration, and in terms of what we're seeing happen in our community and across the United States? Is this troubling for either of you?
It is, and I have seen kind of the shift because of the political climate, within the league, and even on a national level within our, parent league, because of politics. And I think that, and I won't say his name, I think the Orange Loon has given, carte blanche for people to act reckless and discriminate against other people and just act unhumanly, basically. And it's just, unfortunately, despite the fact that we had moved forward from that, now we're just back to that same spot. And again, like I said earlier, we live in a bubble here in Broward County. I think this is the best place in the entire United States. And so we don't have a lot of that. But you step out from here and go somewhere else, and you can just feel it. And it's unfortunate that is happening.
Yeah,
right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the fact that while we may have gained 5 steps over the last 15 years, we've given back a couple.
Are we talking about as gay men or as Hispanic men?
Both.
Gay
Both.
Hispanic men.
Both. I think that we have many aspects of our gay livelihood that are at risk. Starting with basic things like, marriage and the ability to marry, okay? Through other rights that may be associated, parenting, adoption, and so forth, so on, that are very much at the cusp of being thrown out with the bathwater, as you would say.
It's very important because we have people that are going through a situation that are being affected because of the political climate and because of the policies of this administration. So we are there for them. Like, we are family, we embrace each other, and we just make sure that if anybody needs anything, we're there. We are there to help. Me, for example, being in the legal world and being around, doing what I do, I can facilitate and help people find the correct avenues to be able to maneuver around the issues that they have, whether it's being here with their immigration status, or being here with any financial issues that they may have, or family related issue, and not just family, but adoption issue, or the marriage issue, or probate stuff. So I think that being there with each other, being able to offer the help, being the support, means a lot to a lot of people that are going through a lot of hard times. And like I said before, I've been, I wouldn't say privileged, but I at least have been lucky enough to be able to get go to college, get the education that I've gotten, the job that I have, and create the network that I've created and the friends that I have. But not a lot of people, including some people in the league, are not so lucky to have that. So now we're showing them that we are a community, that we are family, that we're there for them.
I don't necessarily look at it as an age difference. I think that for many things, I may have the experience of the years, that I can share and say, hey, I've seen this or not seen this happen, and contribute that basis. But on the I don't want to say the counter, but the balance to that is the younger generation bring the energy and the creativity. And new ways of thinking, and new ways of being able to potentially tackle problems that maybe, whether we tried it once before and it didn't work and we're giving up on it, it's a renewed energy to try to find a way through our challenges and build a bigger and broader community.
So for me, I have to thank the people that came before me, that people that created the league, people that started this whole organization, because without them, I don't believe that we would have a league today. So because of how fast the world is moving, I don't think that our SFAAA League would exist without them. So I like the contributions that we have from people that came before, Ralph, Tim, Jim, you name it, and then being able to better what has been done, being able to move forward, to evolve within the league, and to evolve the league, to bring it up to to 2025 basically. So I think that we learned a lot. We are enjoying our time while we're learning, having fun, making a community, and just creating a safe space and creating a bigger community for people with younger generations.
Right.
Like, I know that my generation doesn't stop there, even though I'm 35 going on 46. There are going to be more generations, and we want to encourage those generations, the younger people, to join the league and just do, even if it's not softball, but be part of a community that knows that they're embraced and loved and accepted for who they are.
No, and I think something that you mentioned before, I think is also very important, or for me was very enlightening, and that is that over time the league has grown, whether Hispanic, non-Hispanic, but maybe it's more accentuated by the Hispanic community that I've seen, and that is people of diverse backgrounds and socioeconomic means, people that have come here as immigrants, fleeing away from bad situations that may have a lot more financial constraints, a lot more constraints about their freedom to move about. It provides a different view of the world than if you sit in your nice, comfortable office, professional life, and that little box that one could easily fall into. And I know that I've made some great friends across the spectrum and people that I love and respect to this day.